funny, as we were finishing up that last video, the guy comes up and asks you where to swim.
Right. He thought I was one of the locals in the area, which is kind of funny. It works out for me. Yeah, the dark skin. I think they call it being ethnically ambiguous. In fact, when I was in the teams, one of the things we did with the Iraqis was we actually took off our American colored uniforms and we would put on their uniforms. And so my dark skin start growing out a little facial hair, then get on an Iraqi uniform. All the guys on my team are looking at me and going like, hey, Williams, you really blend in with those guys now, don't you? Like, I guess I do, to my benefit.
Yeah, I get mistaken for that at times. They'll ask if I'm from Ethiopia, you know.
Yeah, I can kind of see it.
Actually, my dad was from Honduras. I am the son of an immigrant, but
oh, wow.
Yeah, nobody would ever know that, you know.
Yeah.
Hey man, well, I'm dying to hear about some of your experiences as SEAL, real life combat kind of stuff, and the stuff that some missions you went on. What was it like?
Sure, let's go back to the last deployment I was on. We were out in Iraq, and my team was given the task of hunting down men that make suicide vests and roadside bombs like IEDs. And while we're out there, we're working with a group called the ISOF, which is Iraq's Special Operations Forces. And one of our goals with these guys is to simply teach them how to fight their own fights. And so we figured the best way to do that is to not only train them on base, but actually go outside the wire and fight side by side with them. And if you can imagine a whole deployment going by, I'd say pretty good, because we bagged and gagged a lot of bad dudes. We're making the world a better place. And we're coming up on what looked like just enough time on the calendar to do maybe one more operation. And we weren't really sure if the ISOF was ready for us to pass that baton off to them. So we decided for this final operation, why don't we try and make it a sort of graduation operation. We'll let them plan the whole thing from the ground up, and we'll be there with them just in case things go bad. So they need to start from scratch. What's the first thing they need? They need some information, they need some intel. And so they hit the streets and they find this source that tells them about a man that's an Iraqi policeman by day. And this is making great video right here. We're about to get poured on.
Yeah.
This is great though. I think we should embrace it. All right?
Let's do it.
And so they find information on this guy. It's an Iraqi policeman by day, but at night back home he's one of these bomb makers that we're looking for. And to kind of give you folks an idea of like what type of character is it that makes a suicide vest, well, oftentimes these guys are complete cowards. They are not the ones that are actually willing to wear it themselves. Oftentimes they have such a hard time finding somebody else to volunteer to put it on that in one instance over there, what they did is they took two mentally handicapped women and strapped vests onto them and pushed them off into a crowded marketplace, and they watched from a distance like cowards as they set it off with this remote.
Wow.
Killing these women and obviously so many more. So the ISOF though, they've got this whole plan. They figured out where this guy lives, they know how they want to approach the house, get in, grab him, extract, it all checks out, it looks pretty good. And they mentioned one other unique thing though, they wanted us to wear their uniforms. They felt they got shot at more than the Americans did. They thought that the distinguishing factor was the uniforms, and so they wanted us to blend in with them. And we're trying to follow the logic here, like, you want us to put your uniforms on to get shot at more with you. And they're like, yeah. It's like, it's fine, you know, because it's not about a uniform. You know, it's the way you shoot, move, communicate, it's your tactics. And so, you know, we get the uniforms on, loading up in the Humvees. That night I'm behind the 50 caliber machine gun, which is a weapon that could really reach out and touch somebody. I got my night vision goggles on, I'm looking through my green little world and just kind of going over this mental inventory as I'm thinking about all the things I know about this night that is going off in my mind. I know my weapon is headspace and time, that means it's ready to go. I know where this guy lives, how we're gonna approach the house, get in, grab him, extract, but one unique thing I know about this operation that makes it different than every other operation. I know this is the last operation, which also means I know just a matter of days from now, I'm gonna be back in my hometown, Huntington Beach, California, and I'm thinking about now surfing in the ocean. But what we didn't know about that night was that we were actually being set up the entire time to get thrown in the absolute worst circumstances we've been in on this entire deployment, as we were being set up on this ambush. And now we find ourselves engaging in this gun battle for our lives. And so what happened was, is as we're pulling up, and I should backtrack just a little bit, as we're out on the road, I see a sign, and the sign is big, It's hard to miss. It's this Fallujah, Iraq in Arabic. It's one of the last big signs you see before you go turning into Fallujah. And we'd passed this sign before, but I don't know why, for whatever reason, I never thought about that sign the way I thought about it this last night. When I saw it, I thought to myself, huh, what are the odds that Scott, my mentor, looked at that same sign that I'm looking at right now? You know, pretty good chances, because not that many years had gone by. And then I just thought about what had happened to him, and just how, you know, little did he know, probably after glancing at that sign, what would come next. And here we are, little do I know and my team that something similar is about to happen. And so as we pull up to the house where this guy is and we're gonna extract him, we're getting into one of the most vulnerable positions you can be in, which is a moment where you're gonna make your way from armored vehicles through open space. That's where everything broke loose. We start getting shot at from 3 different directions, taking what we call effective fire, meaning the rounds are being very effective. Tick, tick, tick goes over the radio. It means troops in contact, troops in contact. We're trying to get, you know, that quick reaction force. We're trying to get air support as quick as we can. But in an ambush, the odds are really against you. I mean, remember, this is how my mentor and all the guys he was with in his vehicle, they got wiped out. But one of the big difference makers here was the resources we had available to us. We had these armored vehicles, heavy weapons, machine guns, and so the call goes over the radio from our assault leader. All right, boys, we're getting out of here alive, but I need you to push left. And push left, tactically speaking, meant we're not hightailing it. That he actually wants us to basically flank these guys. And so now we're just trying to do what we do best as SEALs. I'm taking this fire from 3 different directions. I see their muzzle flashes, rounds snapping over my head, and it's just time to pick a direction and go. And so I'm just trying to identify and make sure we don't have frogmen, you know, up on the roof as I see these guys maneuvering, and just start firing back at them. And we end up, you know, turning this firefighter around, getting overwhelming firepower, and we kill the enemy, drive them back. We make our way into the house. We decide, let's not just get out of here, let's get this guy that we're going after. And so we get in, and he's wounded but alive. And one of the big differences between, I'll say, us and them over there is we do preserve life wherever possible. You would think now we've got this guy in a corner. You know, he was just trying to kill us, and now we'll just, you know, finish him off and let God work it all out. It's like, no, we save his life. And as difficult as that is, especially for a guy like me, that here I am operating in the same province, the same area where my mentor was ambushed. For all I know, this guy had a hand in it. At the very least, he celebrated in what had happened to my mentor. And now I'm getting the responsibility. Hey, Williams, pick him up, take him into the hospital. So we're putting him into the vehicles, driving him back, and we're saving this guy's life. And that was a really big full circle moment, I think, for me. It was a little bit of closure. Because when I was looking through that TV screen and seeing my mentor, you know, be just mutilated and dragged through these streets, and these guys celebrating and chanting Fallujah's the graveyard of Americans, I was filled with a hatred that did not exist before in my heart. I never really played with the idea in my mind of killing somebody up until that point. I was just a high school kid going to a local community college, talking about wanting to become a Navy SEAL and watching Charlie Sheen, you know, and Navy SEALs, and thinking how cool it would be to like run around and go bang, bang, bang. I never really thought about what it would be like to actually be pulling the trigger and take somebody's life. And not only was I thinking about it as I watched my mentor on the TV screen, I was hungry for it. You know, I became a believer along the way in the teams, and God really helped to kind of work some of that hatred out in my heart. And so this was a big closure moment, because I had an idea of what I would like to have done to this guy when I watched through a TV screen what happened to my mentor. But I'm not doing that now. You know, now I'm actually bringing him into our own hospital and saving his life, a guy that was just trying to kill me and the teams. And so I think that's a testimony as well to how God can really radically change a human being.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Love these stories. Hey, well, in our next video, I'd like you to share what led you to leave the teams.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that. I'm sure many of our viewers will too.
All right.
Thanks,
looking
brother.
forward to it. Yep.